Hi, folks. Welcome to the Prepared Homestead. This is Travis. Thank you all for stopping by to watch. Winter may finally get here. I mean, it's been chilly. We've been getting down below freezing. You can see that's ice there on the creek. But not really anything bad. We've had very, very, very light dusting of snow, but that may all change this next week. They are predicting Monday into Tuesday potentially 3 to 5 inches of snow around here. Of course, people that's lived here long enough know that this kind of stuff happens, and it's not that unusual, but we just haven't had really any of it so far this season, and it might happen. I'm more concerned with something else than the snow because I've been looking at all the weather predictions, and where we are at, we're kind of right on that line of the snow and rain. And so what that means is that we might end up getting ice, and that's way worse than snow. I'd rather get a foot of snow than a little bit of ice, and that is common around here, is ice storms. So we'll see what happens with that. I had one thing that I wanted to say that it's not necessarily that there's a whole lot of news and intel on it. It's just I want to re-emphasize something that I'm sure you all have heard thousands of times. But as I've said before, this is not picking on anyone. This is, I think, just a typical human trait, is we have to be reminded fairly often of things that are important. We kind of tend to, I don't know, just ignore certain things. We know in the back of our minds we should do them, but we need a little motivation. And what I'm talking about is your communications. You need to get those nailed down. You need to have something other to communicate with other than just a cell phone or the internet. Those are not, they're not secure. You know that already. They're not secure. Don't give me any of this. Oh, well, they'll start spying on us on our phones and internet. They've been spying on you and your phones and internet for over a decade. They've been collecting every bit of possible data that can come through a phone line or an internet source for a long time. So that's already been happening. It's going to get worse, but most certainly it's already been happening. But it's not stable. The first sign of anything happening really, really bad, they're going to crash. And it doesn't have to be some kind of cyber attack or EMP that will bring them down. It could just be a lot of people trying to use it all at once. Take, for instance, this Epstein thing. I'll talk just for a second about that here in a minute. But it was released to the internet, the files, and almost immediately the system crashed that was hosting them because so many people got on. Well, what's going to happen if there's some kind of big attack, big terrorist attack, or, an attack from a foreign adversary? Everyone's going to get on their phones and get on their internet, and it could very easily crash the system. And then you're without comms. So you need to work on your comms. Everyone should have at least a good quality scanner that you can listen to what's going on. You should have a couple of the little handheld walkie-talkies. I know the Baofangs are not great quality, but they're cheap. They do function. You can get a little bit better ones in the neighborhood of $50 to $100 a piece that are better than the $20 Baofangs. But you should have at least a couple of those, and then you should have something else, like a CB, GMRS, so that you can communicate. And if you have a ham license, even if you don't, you can get one and listen to it. A ham radio. Now, I know that's a lot, I just said, but it's not terribly expensive because the prices of a lot of stuff has come down, and you really should have this. I know some of you are going to laugh when I said CB, and the reason is, I get it. CB is just full of a bunch of silliness nowadays. But a lot of people, especially out in the rural parts of the country, still have CBs. They may not use them, but they have them. And I suspect when the normal communications go down, because so many people have CBs, they're going to be dragging those out and using them because they're not affected by, some type of communications crash, unless it's an EMP and it affects them. But even that's unlikely for most CBs to be affected. Anyway, so make sure you have your comms nailed down. You're going to be like in the dark if you don't have a way to hear what's going on in the outside world and to communicate with other people. To the Epstein thing, Epstein, whatever. I don't want to belabor that, but it is dominating the news cycle. And I'm going to give you what my gut tells me. May not be true. It's just my gut. My gut tells me a couple of things. Number one, it's going to be a big nothing burger. If you really think that they're going to start hauling Prince Andrew and Bill Clinton and all these other people off into prison because of this being released, I doubt it. I really doubt it. Could be wrong, but I highly doubt it. And I think that nothing in the end is really going to happen other than some people are going to finally feel justified in all the stuff that they've said over the last several years that, see, it's true. But other than that, nothing will happen. Secondly, I think it's all a big distraction. I think it's a big distraction because I think something else is happening and going to happen. There's certainly things happening. The whole U.S. economy and money system is going down the toilet. And it looks like that we are getting really close, much closer than we have been over the last couple of years, to a much broader scale global war. There are reports, no confirmation, so please understand that I don't have any confirmation on this, but there seems to be some reports floating around that could be true, that Russia has been striking targets inside Ukraine. That is true, but that some of those targets hit were NATO buildings, and that is true also. But the part that we're unsure of is who was killed, and there's reports that there was some high-ranking NATO officials that may have been killed in some of these strikes over the last several days. That's a big deal. If you look at what's been going on, Germany is saying that they're going to do a general mobilization for their military. The Netherlands and several other countries are saying that they are very actively getting ready. The talk has gone over the last 2 years of that, Ukraine can't lose and they're going to defeat Russia and yada, 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 to, well, if Russia defeats Ukraine and they move, further west, then this is our plan. So it's already like they understand that it's not going so well. Ukraine says that they've only got a couple of days worth of air defense munitions if no one gives them a big blank check or a big shipment of them. Who knows how accurate that is. But that doesn't look good. And then the Middle East stuff is continually escalating. The one thing that seems to be a de-escalation is apparently one of the leaders in Iran has said that Iran, need to do everything they can to avoid a direct confrontation with the United States. But who knows? Other than that, the United States, United Kingdom, and their little coalition has given, they say, the final warning to Yemen. I think we've heard this a few times, but they're saying it's the final warning that if Yemen does not stop attacking cargo vessels, that they will start doing some really nasty stuff to Yemen. Pretty much all the cargo ships have stopped flowing through the Red Sea there because of all the attacks, which is causing already backlogs. Shipping costs have dramatically increased. Insuring these ships have dramatically increased. Some reports are saying as high as 25 to 30% increase in shipping costs because they're having to go all the way around the Horn of Africa and all that kind of stuff. This is going to trickle down to you. Oil prices have been going up because of all of this. This is going to trickle down to you. Some of the reports come out just recently that, the economy numbers look good. The Fed rates are going to come down, all this kind of stuff. But now all this stuff is happening in the next 30 days to 60 days. The increase of costs for all this is going to trickle down to you, and you're going to start seeing things go up, or you're going to start seeing the availability of stuff go down. That's just the cycle of how these things happen. We have to be on guard for this, folks, because while nothing is for sure, it certainly looks like something is going to happen, some kind of provocation, some kind of something. And like I said, this whole Epstein thing just might be that big distraction from it, because I don't think that anything's going to come of it. I just don't. I could be completely wrong. I guess the other theory is that some of these people on this list that's been named are going to be fall guys. Who knows? Honestly, it's not that important to me. What is important to me is getting ready for all the stuff that we see happening, because it is happening. Only a fool would say that nothing's going on, that everything's fine. These things are actually happening, and they're worsening, and they're increasing in speed and intensity. And the very likelihood that over the next 30, 60, 90 days that some big things happen, I'd say are getting to be pretty good. And so we need to get ready for that, and not to be holden to these things that may be important to a certain extent, but they're not really going to change things. We need to be focused on getting ourselves ready. Like I said, comms. I've been telling you, food, water, all this kind of stuff. You need to be getting out of the cities. And that's a soft spot for some of you. Some of you are pretty tender about that, but you need to be getting out of the cities. Your chance of survival goes downhill way, way fast just living in the cities. I don't care what anyone says. You're never going to convince me of that. I've seen too much firsthand. I've read too many reports. I've seen too much evidence around the world over the last 100 or so years to show that living in the cities is not the place to be in times of collapse. So get out of the cities also. Probably the most important thing that you can ever do is get yourself right with God. Because you're going to need him on your side through all of this, because this is spiritual warfare also, and more so than really anything else. So do that. Get your family in line of where they need to be. Start building your community, because, yeah, it's happening. I mean, that's not doom and gloom. That's just reality. We've watched just in the past week the amount of things that's transpired, that's escalated in various areas. I think it's getting to the point that it's quite obvious. You need to be getting your houses in order and preparing yourselves mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.